Hi guys. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about telepathy. And not telepathy from person to person like I've talked to you about before, but the telepathy from the spirit world to us. Okay? So that is how the spirit world communicates with us in our mind. Sometimes, very rarely, we will actually see spirits with our eyes. Generally, when that happens, it's often a peripheral vision off to the side. And generally, what that is that you're seeing is residual energy. Okay? It's not a true spirit in a living spirit type of way, a spirit that you could communicate with. Generally, it's just residual energy that has attached itself to a place, and that spirit just continually moves through that area or stands in that one spot. Okay? So generally, if a spirit is going to communicate with you, or a guardian angel, or an archangel, or someone that has passed, it will be through telepathy. And it will be an image inside your mind. Okay? Sometimes we will hear a voice and it usually isn't very clear. Generally, what it is more of a feeling. When we are communicating with the spirit world, with people who have passed, we might get a sense of their name. We might very, very faintly hear that name. Generally, it's more of a feeling. Okay? And mostly, it is images. And we may or may not understand those images. So sometimes it's through a dream, in a dream state. And it could be a dream that's very literal. And it could be, this is the message that I have for you, and so I'm sending you this dream so that you will know that these events are happening or will happen. And a lot of times those dreams are just symbols, and you have to figure out what those symbols mean. Okay? And I did tell you that I was learning mediumship, and I did promise to tell you how that was going and how my experiences are with that. So that's kind of where this video is going, is to tell you how I did and when I was able to interpret those images and when I wasn't. Okay? I'm going to be completely honest with you so that you know, if you're trying this too, that it's kind of hit or miss. We might get an image that we don't really understand, and that's okay, because we are all learning and we're all doing this together, right? So when I was actually in the mediumship class, we took turns reading for each other. And the first person that I tried to read, I didn't get anything. Just nothing. If a name came to me, the person sitting in front of me didn't know anyone that had passed with that name. And my teacher is very strict. We must have a name. We must be able to validate that the spirit coming to us belongs to the sitter, the person sitting in front of us. And a lot of mediums just, I have a father or a mother that's passed on. And it's real easy to do just what they call cold readings by doing that, because 50% of people have a father or a mother who's passed on. 80% of people have grandparents who've passed on. So if you just say, I have a grandfather image here, it's very likely that you'll have a hit. So my teacher is very strict. that just won't fly in her class. We have to have the name of the spirit. Okay? The second thing we have to have is how they passed on. Then we have to describe their personality, and if we can, the type of job that they did, and perhaps activities that they enjoyed. And then we get to what the message is for this person. And we may or may not get a specific message. Sometimes they just want to say, I'm watching you, I'm with you, I'm okay on the other side. There really is another side. And that's all they really want to say. So the first person I tried to read, all the names that popped into my head, I didn't truly hear them. It was more a sense of a name. The person in front of me didn't claim those names. And sometimes if you're in a room with a lot of different people, spirits will come to you for someone else in that room. But since we were taking turns reading each other, I had to match the spirit I heard with the person directly in front of me. So it didn't matter if they were for someone else in the room, around in the room. And I wouldn't have known that because those people were all paired up and reading for each other as well. Okay, so the second person that I read for, clicked right on it. Got her name, got the relationship. I knew she wasn't a close relative. I felt like she was a relative, but not a close relative. So it wasn't a mother, father, or grandfather, grandmother. And I was right in that. I said, it's either a cousin or an aunt. And I just felt like parallel lines. That's the way the image came to me. Parallel lines, standing beside the person that I was reading for. Whereas I would take a grandfather or grandmother, mother, father as being above. And these were symbols that I directly said in my mind, before I started reading. And you really have to do that. You have to set about parameters and tell the spirit world, this is what this means to me, so that they know how to communicate with you. And this is kind of where I'm going with this, is there's going to be instances that they don't fall within the parameters you've already set. And so they're trying to communicate, but they just don't know how. Okay? So I saw this woman in a home with an apron standing in front of a 50s type oven. So I knew that was the era that she came from. I also saw her in a dress suit. And you know the ones I'm talking about, where the top specifically matches the bottoms. Kind of think Jackie O, okay? That woolen type suit where the top matches the skirt, and high heels. And so I felt like she was a business person, like she had a career, and I was spot on there. And then I saw, the best I can describe is like a 1955 Chevy. Think of the big steering wheel. And I saw it was dark, and I just saw the steering wheel through the windshield. Okay, so I felt like she was driving. And I said, she drives a lot. She either likes to drive or she has to drive a lot. So driving is very prominent in her life. And that was a hit. The person in front of me said, yes, she had to drive a lot for her job. That was part of her job, a lot of driving. Okay, so I felt all of those things. I knew all of those things. And then I got the sense when she was there with the apron that there was something that she liked to bake, some sort of pie. I felt like she was known for a pie. And she said, yep, coconut cream pie. That was hers, coconut cream pie. So it wasn't anything that I heard. It was more a feeling that went along with the picture. Okay. So the second person that I read for, I actually got a picture of her in my mind. I got the name right, and then I had the picture of her, and I knew she has blonde hair about to here. And I never did quite get what they died from. That wasn't something that I got with in this particular day with these readings. But I saw her in a nurse's uniform, and she said, yep, she was a nurse. And I described her as just a loving, gentle soul. And I said, I don't feel like she's a blood relative. I think she's more of a friend. And she said, exactly right. So these were all just feelings as well as images. And that's where the telepathy comes in. Okay. And then a few months went by, and my teacher is very much into what she calls podium mediumship, platform mediumship. And she wants us to stand in front of a group and be able to read. And that really, really scared me, standing in front of people I wasn't training in class with. And it had been several months since I'd taken the class. And we'd done weekly circles, but we hadn't done any more readings. It was just sitting in the power of spirit and communicating with the spirit world. She's very adamant that she does not want us contacting the spirit world or receiving messages unless the sitter is sitting right in front of us and we are doing a reading. Because if you open yourself up like that, where the spirit world can contact you, you're really opening a can of worms, and you will be plagued by spirits all the time. And that's really not a good place to be in our own heads, right? We want to be able to just open ourselves up to the spirit world when we're doing a reading for someone. But for someone just learning, that's kind of scary to say, okay, I took this class a few months ago and now I'm going to stand up in front of a room full of people and see if I can read anyone. So we did another private practice session of the platform mediumship. So we each took turns and we stood up in front of the people from our circle and to see if we got any names and match them up with the crowd, which is what we would be doing in a large setting. So the first person that went up, I was just sitting listening to her, read for someone in the crowd. She got the name, she was describing their life. And to help us out, our teacher was standing behind and saying, okay, see if you can figure out how they died. See if you can see their home. See if you can, see what they like to do. And it was as if I was also seeing that spirit. I saw the picture of her. I knew what she looked like. I could tell what her home was like. And it's as if I was standing on the podium myself, even though I was sitting in the crowd. I got all of those images as my teacher asked the questions. And this kind of hindered me a little bit when it came to my turn, because that spirit was still crowding into my mind. And normally I do see the image of the person, the spirit. I can see exactly what they look like. And so when I tried to see the image of the person that I was reading when it was my turn, I couldn't see them because this other image was still crowded in. And what I didn't realize is that was just as important as if I could see her. The fact that I couldn't see her was just as important, because she had, as I found out later, she had undergone chemo before she died, and she'd lost all of her hair. She was very self-conscious. She didn't want me to see her. So that was a clue to what had happened to her in life and how she died and how she felt. Okay? So be aware of what you don't see as well as what you do. And when I asked to see her home, what I saw was a chair. And it was in front of bookshelves, and it had a lamp on a table beside it. And when I asked, does she like to read? My sitter said, nope, nobody in that house reads. And I described to her what I saw. A chair, a big leather chair with a lamp on a table in front of a bookshelf. But what that actually meant was being alone. That was an image of my dream home, a big leather chair in front of books and lots of books because I like to read and I like to be alone. So the image that she was showing me wasn't from her home. It was an image that she thought I would identify with as being alone. She felt alone. And so as that image came to me, what I actually heard in my mind was TV, television. I didn't say it because it didn't match what I was seeing. I didn't understand. Okay? Had I said it and told my sitter exactly what I had heard as well as saw, the two would have matched up. She liked to be alone watching television. Okay? And after my reading, as we were talking about this person, what came out was she watched television all alone and secretly would shop on those home shopping networks, and she bought a lot of stuff because she was depressed. And after she died, her family found all of these things and had nothing to do with them. And they ended up giving most of it away because they didn't know how to send it back. And she had charged an awful lot of credit card debt by doing this. And so that matched up with what I heard and what I saw. She watched television alone. She felt alone and she was depressed. So this is just me telling you my hits and misses because we're not perfect and I'm just learning, just like many of you are. And so I want you to know I'm just a regular person on this journey, learning just like you are. Something that came very strong to me, because this was done, before Christmas, was I saw her Christmas tree. And I saw her children in front of the tree playing, like you would on Christmas morning with your toys, the children gathered around. And I said, I don't feel like her children are still young. I see them grown. They are grown men. So she was an older woman when she passed. But I feel like she had 2 sons, and that was a direct hit. And they had dark hair, which should have been a clue to me that she also had dark hair. But for some reason, I was still seeing the image of the blonde woman from before. And so I had guessed that she had blonde hair, and she didn't. The fact was she didn't have any hair. She wore wigs because of the chemo. Okay. So I felt like the tree, she was showing me her tree. And I said, she really liked Christmas, or she really liked Christmas trees. For some reason, this is very important to her. And that was a direct hit because my sitter said she loved the Christmas tree and she kept her Christmas tree up all year and she just changed the decorations. And her name was Joy. And when I started reading her and I asked her what her personality was like, she put her hands on her hips and she said, my name's Joy. I was a freaking joy to everybody, wasn't I? And I didn't know how to take that. And she said, my personality's just like my name. I'm a friggin' joy to everybody. And I didn't want to put out there to my sitter, anything negative, because you certainly don't want to do that. So I just said, her personality was like her name. She was a joy to everyone. And I kind of smoothed it over as, she was a nice, loving person. And my sitter laughed and she said, she was a joy to me. I did love her. She said, but, she was a handful. She had attitude. And she portrayed that attitude to me by telling me that the way that she did. So if you're new to this, or even if you're not, tell your sitter exactly what you hear, what you see, and how you hear it. Because more often than not, it will be spot on. Okay? So that's my experiences with telepathy from the other world and how those images came to me. And I hope this video helps you if you're on this journey or if you are receiving messages from the spirit world. And I hope you are following my channel and that you enjoy it, and just realize I'm just an average everyday witch just like you, and I'm on this journey right along with you. I've been practicing for 20 years now, but you know, there's a reason why we call it practice. We just keep practicing because we'll never be perfect. So just keep practicing. Okay? Have a good day, y'all.